is continued.
Okay. As a preliminary matter, this is Brian Sullivan of the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Did I miss the opening? No. Brooke Moore?
Aye.
Penny Dye?
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella?
Aye.
Dave Iverson? Aye. Rima Sherry?
Aye.
Allison Mitchell?
Aye.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond affirmative. Tucker Holland?
Here.
Ken Bogran?
Present.
Eleanor Antonetti?
Present.
I don't think we have any anticipated speakers today.
Ann is here in relation to the 31 Fairgrounds.
Okay, great. And can you just confirm your mic and your presence?
Yes, Ann Cuspa. Hello.
Great. Thank you. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency of the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible and physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment to those members of the public that have joined via Zoom. For this meeting, the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust is convening by video conference via the Zoom app is posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and all attendees participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted, and the public is encouraged to follow along unless using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda for this public meeting. Before we do so, permit me to cover ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members and registered participants, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you are not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly. For any response, please wait till the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After the panelists or members have spoken, the chair will afford the public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names, be acknowledged, and speak through the chair. With that, we will turn to the agenda. And look for a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So that was a motion from Dave and a second from Christy. By roll call, Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
Dave Iverson, Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella,
Aye.
and Penny Dye.
Aye.
We'll look for discussion or comments on the approval of the minutes for February 11. Penny?
Yeah, I'm going to abstain on this. I wasn't present.
Thank you.
Same goes
I will,
for Dave.
Go ahead, Eleanor.
I'm sorry, the same goes for Dave. He was not present.
Great.
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain on that one too.
I'll move approval of the minutes.
Second.
And I have a second from Rima by roll call. Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan, aye. We have Dave and Penny abstaining. Moving to item number 4, we have a covenant formation assistance program application for 4 Hull Lane.
Yeah, that's continued. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh,
I
it
just
says
keep
right.
it on the radar, but it's continued to March 15th.
16th. Yep, says it right there. Thank you for putting that. Penny?
I'm gonna hop off and come back on after item 5.
We have a mortgage CCAP application right now.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So 22A Evergreen Way post-closing. This is an item to approve a subordination of the mortgage. This is one that we've already done and we're
Yes, this is
they're refinancing.
You just did one of these last month. Well, actually last week. In any case, yeah, this is in the last instance, they had to record the mortgage before, so we were basically ratifying it. In this case, they're going to be recording this second mortgage next Wednesday. So they're doing it before the fact, but they need our approval, as it states, for both the subordination of the mortgage from Mr. Hurley to us in favor of the new mortgage and authorization for you or Brian to sign the documents related to it.
Is there any discussion on this item or questions for Eleanor? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion from Penny to approve and a second from Christy. All those in favor, Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
Dave Iverson.
Aye.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella,
Aye.
Penny Dye,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan's and I. Penny, we'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, well, no, Penny can leave, but Brian, just so you know, I am going on vacation next week, leaving Sunday.
Awesome.
So I'm going to send these documents to you for your signature and with the attorney's office CC'd so that you guys can take care of it between the two of you in my absence.
Okay. Which attorney is it? Is it one in town?
Glidden's office.
Great. I have to
Okay.
go there. I have to go there tomorrow. So if they print it, I'll just go and sign it there.
Great. It's just it's happening next week, so I don't want to let it fall through the cracks.
Great.
Thanks.
To item 5, 31 Fairgrounds Road update. Tucker, I'll kick this to you and then let Ann go from there.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think as the board all knows at this point, we are so pleased to be able to confirm that the closing on 31 Fairgrounds happened on Friday. Housing Nantucket is now the owner of that property. And we are all working very collaboratively to move forward with the construction of 22 rental units there for the exclusive use of or in service to year-round residents. Income levels basically between 80 and 150% AMI is what is being targeted. There will be multiple tiers. We think it's really important that it's a mixed income development, and with very few exceptions, I think people are very excited across the community about this project. I think it's a fantastic illustration of one of the strategies that the Neighborhood First Advisory Committee had recommended in terms of pocket developments. And as the board already is aware, this project overall involves 10.35 million, with 3.6 of that having been the grant for the acquisition of the property, and 6.75 being loaned for the construction of the units. Housing Nantucket is working very closely with Billy Cassidy, the builder, who is equally excited about this project. And we're really just grateful to everyone who has played a part in making this a possibility. And that's a very long list. And if I attempt to try to go through it, I am 100% certain to forget people. So I'm going to kind of just say thank you, everybody. We do have one matter to take up today in conjunction with it, which is basically a request from Housing Nantucket for the costs associated with the closing on this property. The vast majority of those costs relate to the title insurance, which of course we all, I think, feel is very important to have adequate coverage of. And anyway, I'll let Ann say a few words, but you received a letter of request. It's approximately 28,000, and you know, we would recommend you know, covering these costs in the course of what we're trying to do here. And I'll turn it to you, Ann, if you wanted to.
Sorry, I was on mute saying thank you, Tucker. Ann, what was yours?
Thank you very much. Like Tucker says, we're just so pleased to have the involvement and just the feedback and input, and you know, everyone put on their thinking caps and we did this. So we're just so proud and feel so lucky to be the recipients of the grant, and then also to be continuing to work together with such a great team to get this these structures built and then occupied by our year-round families. So thank you very much to all of you for helping with that. Yeah, we're here today to ask for the closing cost assistance with that. So like Tucker said, it's helpful for all of us. Certainly was very helpful to have our lawyer really very diligently look through every aspect of these documents, not only for the loan and the grant agreements, but we had to draft out the documents for our agreement with Mr. Cassidy, and we were in good hands the whole time. So I hope that you'll approve this request, and I'm willing to answer any questions that you have.
Great, thank you, Ann. Tucker, I see your hand raised.
I just wanted to also add that these monies are have already been covered in the monies that were dispersed at closing. So it's not additional money that that Brian Turbott's office would need to provide, or that sort of thing.
Right. It's kind of sort of a retroactive reimbursement. Okay. Is there any discussion or questions from any of the members of the board? Seeing none, does anybody have a feeling or opinion, thought they want to throw out?
I have a motion crafted if you want.
Oh, well, sure, Eleanor, I'd love to hear the motion.
Brooke Moore or Rima Sherry or anybody. Move to approve the request for a grant of $28,063.75 from the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust to NHA Properties, Inc. to cover closing costs associated with the purchase of 31 Fairgrounds Road. And somebody seconds it.
So moved.
So since, okay, there we go. And I'll second.
Moved by Rima, seconded by Brooke. We'll take a vote by roll call. Rima Sherry?
Aye.
Allison Mitchell?
Aye.
Dave Iverson?
Aye.
Brooke Moore?
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella?
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan, aye. Great.
Thank you all very much. Maybe we'll just mention it like on this subject. So the only other planned request, if you will, associated with the project at this juncture is related to the clerk of the works that would be acting on behalf of Housing Nantucket, and really, I think also looking out for the interest of the trust in town at the same time. Housing Nantucket has been very fortunate to engage someone we feel very highly qualified to perform this role. And as the specs on the buildings are still being fine-tuned, the kind of exact number associated with his involvement hasn't been pinned down, which is simply why the request hasn't been forthcoming before now. But it will be forthcoming, and we think it ultimately would be money very well spent. So I just wanted to let you know that perhaps at our March meeting, we'll have an opportunity to take that up.
Great. Thank you for the heads up, kind of the lead in on that.
Thank you very much. Really very grateful and honored to be part of this. So thank you.
Good work, Ann. Keep at it. So next I'm going to just text Penny. She can come back in. Feel free. Back. Okay, so we will move while we wait for that for an update with, I'm assuming it was Tucker's call with Representative Fernandez on the housing bank bill, or maybe it was Ken. I'm not sure.
I think we both were there. One of these Zoom calls, so hard to keep them all straight. The update is, I think we talked a little bit about the various housing bank, transfer fee in support of housing efforts that are going on across the Commonwealth at this point. We had an opportunity to have a local, if you will, meeting with Representative Fernandez last week on Thursday, and then we had a session with the Cape and Islands delegation on Friday of housing advocates from across the Cape and Islands. And I guess the main points that I can relay are that we tried to emphasize that a passage of a transfer fee in support of housing is our #1 priority. And I think that Representative Fernandez feels that, with the roughly dozen different communities that have home rule transfer fee petitions in support of housing at the State House, momentum is building, if you will. There is a statewide transfer fee coalition that I am on the steering committee of. It's quite an active group. We meet every 2 weeks. Representatives from communities across the state. They have filed at this juncture statewide enabling legislation in both the House and in the Senate. Senator Comerford filed it in the Senate, and Representative Conley filed it in the House. Separately, Dylan and Representative Malia have filed statewide enabling legislation at the $1 million level and above. So it's sort of what they call the luxury version of the coalition bill. Sort of as a practical matter, like we as Nantucket would be indifferent to either one of these passing. It would allow us to do what we wanted to do in our home rule petition, more or less. But I think it's Dylan's pretty strong belief that the statewide coalition version with the lower threshold, and it's basically the county median is where the bar would be set versus 2 million, if you will, in our case, which is probably getting close to the county median anyway. But in any event, I think there's a perception issue, Dylan believes, amongst the legislators that if it's below $1 million, it's going to start to get into the perception of hitting the middle class in certain areas, and that's not going to be like a politically viable approach. So there's a lot of activity around transfer fees. Martha's Vineyard has hired a full-time coordinator for a transfer fee for housing, like for the vineyard, for all 6 towns agreed essentially to do this, which is like kind of unheard of on the vineyard. So it is their number one priority as well. And a woman named Laura Silber is coordinating that effort. She and I are in regular touch now. So we'll see. But I guess at this point, I'll let Ken add anything that he would like to add, and then maybe just answer any questions we can at this point.
I don't have anything further to add. Tucker outlined it very, very clearly. It is moving forward, but it is slow. But there is a greater willingness to address the issue than has been there before.
Tucker,
Dave?
hi to you. Mr. Chair, so is there, like, if the state sets a bar for the transfer fee, is there flexibility in that for us?
Yeah, they like the way that the statewide enabling is oriented. It says that you can basically impose, anywhere from 0 to 2%. Where we're proposing 0.5%. So we're within the parameters, and it's up to the local municipality to decide what they would do within the ranges that are permitted.
Saying, but at the real estate price level, like, when they a transfer fee on anything above $1 million, below $1 million, do we get to set that bar?
We get to set it. Yeah,
Okay.
we get to set it within a range, a range that they prescribe. But we could do, if the statewide enabling were to pass, we could more or less do what our home rule petition said we wanted to do. I was going to add one thing I forgot to mention earlier. I think one of the things that Dylan feels is important is to get the new Speaker of the House, Mariano, down here to Nantucket and familiarize him with the situation here. And I think he feels that Mariano is someone that we might be able to work with, that he would be receptive to coming. This might not happen, till August, or when, it's indeterminate at this point. But I think education is part of Dylan's strategy.
Penny?
Yeah, I just want to follow up and say that the county median home price as of December 31st was $2,434,000. Thanks.
That is absurd.
So I'm curious, as we say that, Penny, you're pulling that figure from sales data from last year, right? Versus assessor data. I'm hopeful that it would come out of assessor data in some manner. I would.
Except the assessments are running about 20% behind the market.
Yeah, understood.
And the market is what we're fighting, not.
I'm just fearful that the number goes too high in an inflated market without any inventory, which is what we're going into, and then it prescribes too high of a number and doesn't capture what we're trying to do. But
I think when it comes, if we're lucky enough to get to the time where we get to decide those kind of details and make recommendations, we're going to look at lots of different indices, I would imagine. Good
Agreed.
point, though. Thank you.
Allison?
Thank you. I just wanted to note one thing that I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's different between our home rule petition and the bill set forth that Representative Fernandez says, is that the fee is on the seller in his bill, and in our bill, it's on the buyer.
Vice versa.
Oh, vice versa. Sorry, but yes, they're opposite. And then the other thing that I noticed on our home rule petition, as well as his, is it's for up to 175% AMI. It doesn't go above 100%, 175%.
That was awesome. Okay, good update. Energetic dog family. Brooke, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm reading the language in the bill now, and it refers to state median sale price and county median sale price, and I can't quite figure out the where the two intersect.
So state median is going to be like 450,000.
Right, but my point is that it could be substantially below. The threshold could be substantially below our median price on the.
Only if we choose to go with that.
Right. But we don't have to go to our median home price as the floor, is my point. So we can set it anywhere between the state, above the state median home price, which is substantially below us.
I think that, yeah, the notion is it can't go below the state median, which is not an issue here.
Right.
Well, as Penny said, hopefully we have this problem and can look at a lot of indices at that point. Any more questions on the update? So we're looking at a pretty long time horizon based on the commentary to get the speaker down here, hopefully in August. Like I want to realistically prepare the public or anybody watching this. This is a continuation of a long 5-6 year effort to this point, and we're still looking at a runway ahead of us.
Sessions are 2 years. This is the start of the session. So, I mean, I think the target we're looking at is that if the summer of 2022 is, sort of by then is when we would be trying to push things through. And I think that's part of what Dylan's trying to line up in terms of getting folks down here and so forth. And there's a lot of different efforts going on. Anyone who would like to be active, let me know. And the folks on the vineyard have said, tell us what you want us to do. I think they very much look at Nantucket and the vineyard as completely aligned in this effort, and we've been at this for a few years, and they want to help however we would like them to help.
Okay. All right, we'll noodle on that one and come back requesting some help. Seems like we've exhausted that update, so we'll move on to the housing production plan update. We've got the next session Tuesday, March 9th, with the consultants at 1 p.m. So that's our
Yep.
Next regularly scheduled?
No, yes, it's our next scheduled meeting at this point. The March meeting, the regular March meeting is the 16th, so the following week. So the housing production folks, they provided a short update. I believe ultimately we had over 1,300 folks fill out the survey, which is, I think, a pretty healthy number. They are holding the last of the focus group sessions tonight, and I think they've had strong participation in those, and a lot of good and varying comments. As you all know, we intentionally invited a broad spectrum of perspectives to participate in those, folks representing a broad spectrum of perspectives, which I think is great. And so they're going to have a report on the 9th on what at least some preliminary feedback and findings from both of those activities. They have requested an hour and a half with you all on the 9th. So one question I have for you is, do you want to be taking up anything else at that session, or just exclusively devote it to the plan, and then all other business we would handle the following week?
The only, Brooke, I'll come to you, but the only thing that I can see on my radar is that maybe time sensitive for us covering any funding articles related to other boards. Any funding mechanism articles that we want to talk about. Brooke?
Thanks, Brian. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. The funding articles are currently scheduled for March 8th with the Finance Committee. So I'm wondering whether this board should schedule a meeting to have that conversation prior to the 8th, unless FinCom can schedule us on a different day. But I think we should be prepared to go to the Finance Committee with some kind of something to say.
Why don't we hold a little of that discussion for maybe in other business on scheduling that, but Tucker, I think that would be, outside of that, we should focus the hour and a half on the 9th with the HPP.
Okay.
Did you want to touch base on anything about their webinar on the 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m.?
Thank you for mentioning that date and time. So the webinar on that date, the 23rd, from 4 to 6, as you said, is the second, and that is really where they intend to present, I would say, like working recommendations that would be coming out of the survey work, the focus group work, and their discussion with you all on the 9th.
And will that be that's a general public webinar, or is it just this board?
No, it's totally open to the public. In fact, we strongly encourage the public to attend. It's really to get feedback from the public. So we're going to want to probably run some ads as we did for the first webinar in conjunction with that.
Do you need any action from us now to budget plan, get in an ad cycle, get it out there?
I think that working with the communication subcommittee will have something for you all to look at your meeting on the let's say at the meeting on the 9th, to just quickly give some comment on, and then we would get it. We'll try to run it for a couple of weeks to give people advance notice.
Great, thank you. Jump to item 8. Oh, I'm sorry, Brooke, you had some more on.
Tucker, do you think there's any chance Florencia could send out a save the date social media message sooner than just to get it on people's calendars?
I'm sure she could.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Okay, I might have moved too fast. Any more on that item? Okay, seeing that, I'll come now down to item 8, the land bank donation of the Roland Building and the 7 Amelia Drive discussion. Tucker, I'll pass to you to kind of update the group.
Sure, thank you. So I'll keep this relatively brief, and then we can, talk further. So there's been a lot of communication between ourselves and the land bank, as well as the town's on-call project manager, Matt McEachran, who had offered to assist in the design, if you will, for the basement and thinking about the site plan and so forth for that location. I have a kind of a basic layout that I can maybe share here if you give me one moment. Just 1 second here.
Is that what you emailed earlier?
Yeah, I did email it, and I've got it right here,
I
Eleanor.
have it if you need me to share.
thank you very much. I'll try sharing it right now and let me know if this works. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
So, yeah, so you know, Matt actually has this like in a CAD file. This is just meant to be more of a sketch look at it, but that is the Roland building, effectively to scale, sited at this new location. You can see there is an easement where my arrow is coming off of Amelia Drive. It's shared actually. It's a double wide easement with Keeper's Restaurant next door. The thought would be potentially that that would be the drive access. You could get 7 parking spaces right off of that drive, and then potentially there is room along the new frontage along the roadway created between Amelia and Waite Drive, where you know, an additional 2 housing units could go in order to get the maximum 4 out of the site. So, you know, happy to talk about that more to the extent that folks want to, but maybe superseding that discussion is we did get an email from the land bank this afternoon, which I forwarded to you all. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it basically said that they have had someone come forward who is saying they would really like to use the building, and they can guarantee to the land bank that it can be moved by June 15th, which, as you know, is kind of a date that the land bank has said they're trying to have the building moved by. So in the discussions with the OPM and Matt McEachran to date, and we actually have another one scheduled with the surveyor tomorrow, I would say it is possible that we may be able to do this by June 15th, the way that the time frames are being laid out. However, like capital, however, we're not going to be in a position to know with certainty that it all can happen anytime before May 1st. And so what my recommendation to the board for consideration would be is we may want to, you know, go back to the land bank and kind of say, you know, hey, we really appreciate that you guys, you know, thought of us. We certainly are interested in doing things together. We're excited about working together in the 31 Fairgrounds project, where they're going to be holding the conservation restriction. But, you know, here's the situation as far as when we would really know with certainty that we could move it by June 15th, and that's not for a couple months. So, you know, if June 15th is important and you have confidence that the person that approached you today can have it moved by that date, as we have said from the very beginning, you know, we don't want to interfere with any of your plans for 15 Commercial Wharf. So like no harm if you decided you wanted to, you know, go in that other direction. You know, I think we're, you know, pretty supremely confident that we could use the building, but we can't guarantee that time frame. So we don't want to inhibit you, and that's the general. And we've hinted at this, more than hinted at this, in our communications along the way. But that I think now specifically that they have someone saying, "Hey, I can do this," you know, by the date you want. I think that may be the appropriate follow-up with them, and I'll turn it back to you.
Great, thank you, Tucker. Penny, did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, I just feel like this is an enormous opportunity for us. They purchased this property 4 months ago, about almost 4 months ago. It's still 4 months between now and June 15th. We wouldn't have to have it on the foundation and finished. Couldn't we store it on the lot until we could get that part finished? The site work, I just think the generous gift of it's more than $80,000 to move towards the move. I just think we need at some point to just take the leap.
Thank you, Penny. Just one question while I'm thinking about it, and I apologize if I missed this, but does Amelia Drive have any in-season construction restrictions in their HOA? It does not. Penny's shaking her head. No, it doesn't.
I will double check that right now, but I don't believe they do.
Okay. Christy, did you have any feedback with your involvement with is it the OPM? You had raised some points about road access and opportunities that I had heard somewhere.
You're asking me?
Yeah. Did you have any feedback or thoughts that you heard from on the town administrator side?
No, I wasn't on that call. That would be
Okay.
for Tucker.
Rima?
So through the chair to Tucker, why is May 1st the date that we'll know? I mean, what is happening that takes until May 1st to determine whether or not we can get the thing moved before June 15th?
Yeah, so I'm just going to answer Penny's question about couldn't it be moved and cribbed where it's going? Yeah, the answer is yes. But that's one of the things the OPM is also looking into. If it's $87,000 to move it to the location and then sit on cribs, how much more is it to move it the last 100 feet onto a foundation when that's ready? So we may not end up getting the full benefit of the $87,000, if you will. The May 1st is basically, there are a series of things that need to happen in terms of HDC. I believe the land bank has already gotten the HDC move off permit. We need to get the move on permit. We need a certain level of design for that Matt is already working on, but I believe that the first opportunity that we would have to go before the HDC is March 23rd. And let's just assume that it went swimmingly. And that's a huge assumption if anyone watched last Tuesday's meeting. But if it did, then we would have that move off permit like a week later. And we would be in position, we have to procure a general contractor to do this work. And so it's that factor that would bring us out in the timeline that John Lemieux from Vertex laid out that would carry us until about the May 1st timeframe before we let's say we knew with certainty that it could all happen by the June 15th date. Erica's reserved a move date, June 9th, and with a backup of June 10th in the House move schedule, which is terrific. She's reached out to the utility companies. National Grid is looking at it next week, so she should have feedback about that timing from them next week. Unfortunately, Verizon has a new person covering this territory, or I should say the old person no longer covers this territory, and they're in the process of assigning the new person. So that is a little bit in flux at the moment, or at least last time I heard from Eric on this. And so she's following up with them as well. So there are just a lot of, moving parts to this, and we don't want to overpromise. So I do I think part of what Penny was saying is like, we should make a decision. And I think that is important, one way or another. But anyway.
We're gonna go to Rima and then Dave. So Rima, floor.
Is it possible that the land bank, instead of granting us the funds for that, actually procures the move, and have them, no, okay, Ken's saying no. All right, because I thought maybe we could shift that to them and then they could just hire whoever they wanted and we wouldn't have to go through our procurement. But if that's not possible, then yeah, we're
It's
still.
a clear no.
Dave?
Yeah, about moving it on cribbing. I think you're overthinking it maybe, Tucker, because if they're going to pay for the move and they want it off at a certain date, if we have it off and sitting on cribbing, it is off at that certain date. The price is going to be inclusive to setting it on a foundation. And if it's right next to where the foundation is going to be, there's not going to be any more added cost at it sitting on cribbing for an extra few weeks or a month before they place it on a foundation. I don't think that's really a reason to stall. Many other reasons to stall, but I think that
we don't want to stall. That's not
I don't mean
right.
stall, but I mean things that are kind of keeping us or having problems moving forward. But
I'm gonna slightly disagree with you, Dave. Because the move, there will be additional costs to move it twice. If they're moving it onto cribbing, and then it's got to be moved off the cribbing onto the final location, it will cost more, according to the OPM.
Okay, well, it's going to go on cribbing before they move it onto the foundation anyway, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just don't think it's a huge issue.
Yeah, okay.
And I could be wrong, but I just feel like it.
Well, the OPM is putting together a price for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brooke?
So the concern that I have is that if we're unable to procure, if we commit to this and schedule a move and it puts on, and we are unable to procure someone to do the site work, prepare the foundation, this building has to be cut in pieces to move. So an extra 4, 6, 8 weeks, if it rains a lot, risks damage to the structure. And that's probably my greatest concern, is that we could end up with a building that is not weather tight, sitting and waiting for us to procure a contractor to do the site work, then get it set, and then put it back together so that it's weather tight. So I think that's part of what has to be sorted out as well. And that's why the delay in making sure we have a contractor lined up so the work can get done. So that would be my concern.
Thank you, Brooke. Penny?
Yeah, I just looked, I don't see any restriction against construction during the summer or at any point in the year.
Great, thank you for looking. The crunch on the timing makes me personally uncomfortable. I recognize that, housing, Anne made a comment at the very beginning of us looking at this, that Housing Nantucket looked at it. The height of the building, the fact that it was being cut, they recognized that it wasn't going to work for them in trying to achieve similar goals that we trying to achieve for creating housing. My perception is that they have more experience doing house moves than we do, and may recognize some of the impending roadblocks that we may not having the same experience that they do. So overall, it gives me a little bit of pause under such a tight timeline, is my personal thought. But I just wanted to, bring that up. Anne was thoughtful enough to share that, I think 3 meetings ago. So I just want to share that. Christy, I saw your hand motioning. Did you want to make a comment? And I saw Anne come back on screen. So
I'll let Anne go first.
Okay.
Well, Hi again, Ann Crispa, Housing Nantucket. I mean, I don't want to be a buzzkill here. It's just that when we cut buildings, it just gets really tough to sew them back together again. And it just seems like our experience has been, the pipes are freezing. It's just like the problems with the structure long term. It's really tough to manage that. So that's why we declined. I mean, maybe you'll have a different experience. I hate to be the one to, rain on the parade, but for us, we just kind of like to the best, the easiest moves, the least costly moves.
Well,
We feel like
Thank you, Ann.
and I mean,
Tucker?
I think it's, it's super valuable input, and it, again, like if we weren't being put under the gun on timing, then like some of these things we'd have more opportunity to convince ourselves that, oh yes, like in this case, it can be, with our general contractor, oh yes, it would work in this case. We could take the benefit of Housing Nantucket's experience and see, is it different in this case? Could it be done in a way where we might have much less probability of encountering some of the issues that they've encountered before? So I just think that the time frame is very tight, and if with a complex project, it is it makes it difficult to set ourselves up for success.
Great, I'm gonna come to Ken.
Did you call me? Brett? So,
Yeah, yes, Ken, please go ahead.
The other thing that I want to indicate is a concern to me, and this is what Tucker has been struggling with to try and get a fix on, is the dollar costs with respect to putting this thing together, and we have no idea what the cost of the construction is going to be for the basement. We don't have any idea what the HDC is going to approve with respect to what we're thinking about doing, because we want to put housing there in order to be able to get the two different units and still keep the commercial space on the first floor. So there are a lot of issues that still don't have a resolution to make a determination as to the true value of this building, as opposed to the cost of what's going to be set against the cost gift that we're going to get from the land bank to move it across. So those are really valuable considerations. I don't want to be a downer as well, but I tried to be objective in this, and it's very hard for me because of the fact that I think that the June 15th was an arbitrary date set by the land bank. But again, that's their decision to do that. So it's just a concern that I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ken. Penny?
Yeah,
And then Christy?
Sully, through you to staff. What is it going to take for the staff to determine what is a realistic time frame?
That's what the project manager and the architect and surveyor are determining. So it may be a few weeks, like, before we know. Like I said, it's possible it could happen according to what we went through today. But we go to the HDC on the 23rd, and you have a couple members, like you did at last Tuesday's meeting, like kicking this down the road a few meetings, then it throws everything off. So it's, if you go back to the origin of this whole opportunity, the land bank bought this building at the end of October.
Yep.
They came to us and Ann and other people and said, hey, like, we bought this property, and does anyone want a building? And initially we didn't say we want it. In fact, I received a call from a local business owner that said, I'm looking for a building to put on land that I already own in order to create year-round housing for my employees. And so I contacted Jesse to say, hey, I think I might have someone who's interested in your building, and put them together. A few weeks later, as there were a number of discussions going on, we had said, hey, have you done anything with that building yet? Is it committed to go anywhere? Is it available? And they said, yeah, no, it would be available to you. And that's, that was in early December. Jesse got together with Ken and I late December, and as you all know the discussions we've had around it. So, we've always had the approach like we don't want to stand in the way of something that you all want to do, but maybe there's an opportunity for us to do something with this. Then it was around January 20th that they said, okay, you can have it, and you have to definitively move it by June 15th. And that's when we said, whoa, we don't know if we can do it like by that point. So we've been, we've been investigating in conjunction with a few other activities that we have going on.
Thank you, Tucker. Christy?
Thank you. I'm wondering if there's an estimate, if we were to go forward with this, how long kind of until we have heads in the bed? And if we don't, what's the timeline on 7 Amelia for having heads on beds?
I don't know that there's anybody prepared to answer that question. I do appreciate the question, but I don't know that.
Yeah, so if we move this building, let's say the land bank was open to doing it in the fall, if it couldn't happen before June 15th. I mean, I think it's definitely fair to say, we could have heads and beds within 12 months, in this building at its new location, versus creating something brand new that I have to look at our funding availability, but that probably is a little longer time. You might add 6 months to that minimum.
Allison?
Yeah, since we've been talking about it really from the beginning, I've tried to separate my appreciation for this great, beautiful building that I've been in, and it's really wonderful. And then the reality of doing the most with this site in probably the best way we can. And I've just always come back to the idea that we still don't necessarily have the best plan for the site right now. We're making a plan based around this one building, but is that the best plan for this site? And I'm also interested, we wouldn't have a plan necessarily, I don't think, for who would manage the properties, and listening to Anne talk about how difficult some of these, cut properties can be to manage. That just, uneasy isn't the word, but I would feel better. I would feel better just us saying, this is what we know we want to do with this site, and this building fits in perfectly, rather than this building is here, so then this is what we're going to do with this site.
So it seems, Tucker, before you go, I kind of want to sharpen our pencil a little bit here, because this is the third time we've talked about this. I will look to the board. It feels like we should take an action one way or another on this to either free the building up for somebody else or commit to moving it forward. So I'll go to Tucker and then ask if anybody has specific information they want to help to make that decision, and then look, if there isn't any, we'll look to, a motion, kind of how to move this forward. Tucker?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One other thing I wanted to mention that is a factor in the overall discussion is the use of any office space that would be associated with this building has like a very limited use, as I think we've talked about before. And that is like, that's kind of a determination like that Libby, needs to weigh in on. So there's a bigger strategic sort of part of this where that decision, may not be able to be fully made in a, very short time frame either. So anyway, I wanted to mention that as well.
Okay, Brooke?
So I'll make one last comment and then I'm going to take a shot at a motion.
Okay.
I think, Penny, the way you described it as taking a leap accurately describes where we're at. I believe we're taking a leap into too many unknowns. And I think it's too risky for us. I think there's a while generous in the offer and in other circumstances, I think this would be an amazing opportunity. However, given all of the pieces of the puzzle that has to come together and the relative unknowns, I would make the following motion that we reply to the land bank explaining that the earliest we could determine whether or not we could move off by their deadline is May 1st, and that we would like to, that we will do our best to have an answer by May 1st, but if that is not workable for them in their timeline, that we say thank you very much for the offer, and we encourage them to find another use for the building, especially a use that might involve housing year-round Nantucketers.
So I'd like to have discussion on Brooke's motion before looking for a second. I'll go to Dave, Penny, and then I have a comment.
Yeah, I mean, I think Allison made some great points here. Are we trying to jam a square peg into a round hole because it's cheap and free? And with a deadline looming, which makes it even tougher. I'm just concerned that a couple things. One, that we're all in on this building and we're going to make it work on the lot, as Allison alluded to, when maybe there's better ways to use this space, and not just jamming what we have in there, and just planning it out a little better. I appreciate the free building. I appreciate the move. It's just, I feel like we're rushing into this, and maybe we all just need to take a deep breath and really make sure that this is the right building for the lot and that we're making a wise decision. And it's not all just about the money. If we have a affordable housing building that has offices and 2 living spaces in it that's sewn back together, that's leaking all the time, that's causing us headaches, it's just, there's a lot of concern involved here. And I love the idea of an inexpensive building, but I don't love the idea of the possible blowback.
Thank you, Dave. Penny?
Yeah, I just want to say that opportunities don't always present themselves at convenient times. And I just have been feeling throughout all of these discussions that it's almost like we don't have the will to do this and we're getting in our own way. And I think that's all I'm going to say about it, but thank you.
Thank you, Penny. Brooke, my thoughts on your motion are that I think that we should be more definitive, either say thank you, no thank you, and then versus potentially take the time to go out to maybe in May if we figure it out. So that allows another person, if they're going to spend resources and time. I do like Allison's comments that maybe we take the resources, the engineer, the architect that are looking at this now, and look to develop a comprehensive RFP for the site in its full composure. But that's my personal opinion. Penny?
Sorry, just to follow up with that, I think if we adopt this motion, there's a likelihood that this opportunity won't be an option for us anymore. And I just think we need to go into that with that understanding.
I think it needs to be definitive that if in taking a motion like this, we move on to the next thing on and allow them to move on as well. Christy, did you want to make a comment?
Thank you. I feel like I've been going back and forth. I kind of thought at first, we should say thank you, but we don't want to hold you up. And then hearing from Tucker that it might be possible, I wanted to wait. But I think, it's the right move to make a decision today and not wait. If we can't get to HDC until March 23rd and then we wait and then say, never mind, the next person isn't going to be able to get to HDC till after that, which is going to impede on their June 15th date. So I think in our response, if we're saying no, we need to, express as much gratitude and that we want this to work in the future. And we hope that this doesn't reflect a relationship or strain a relationship that we hope is really beneficial in the future. And so I'll leave it at that.
Great. Thank you, Christy. Tucker, on Brooke's motion.
In anticipation of wanting, the trust wanting to get back to the land bank today, I wrote a draft note that I could read if it was helpful and see if it captures the sentiment here.
So would you be recommending a friendly amendment to Brooke's motion with this letter? Is that what you're getting towards, or Penny?
Articulation.
Sorry, I think we need to have a second and vote on this motion unless he's altering the motion.
That's what I'm asking. Is his letter an intent to alter the motion?
Thank you.
There was no second to the motion, so
the motion's still in discussion. We haven't.
Right, so there
we
wasn't
haven't
a second,
seconded
so it could be withdrawn if someone wanted to, or it could be amended.
So
Brooke?
I just want to, I'll make one more comment. The reason I worded the motion the way I did is to leave open the opportunity that if it does not work, if they don't find anyone else who's able to move it in this time frame, which frankly I think is a real risk, that we still have the opportunity to think about this. But I'm happy to withdraw my motion and ask Tucker to recommend what he thinks we should do.
Okay, so I will take that as a withdrawal. We'll listen to Tucker's letter, kind of feel the temperature of the meeting, and then look for a motion.
Yeah, I mean, it's really an articulation, I think, of what Brooke's motion was, but you guys decide. So the draft note I have is, hi, Jesse and Eric. Thanks very much for the below. As we've said from the beginning, the trust does not want to stand in the way of plans the land bank has for the 15 Commercial Wharf site. I relayed to Eric last week the timing of a follow-up meeting John Lemieux of Vertex, Matt McEachran of Emeritus, and I had scheduled for today. That meeting was very productive, and we have another scheduled for tomorrow afternoon where Leo is going to join us. With that said, while it looks like it may be theoretically possible to move the building by June 15th to 7 Amelia or an alternate nearby location, we aren't going to be in position to guarantee that until early May. I think it's fair to say we believe that we can use the building, yet it may end up that a fall plan makes more sense on our end. If June 15th is an important date to the land bank and you all have confidence that the building moving by that date can be accomplished by the party below, we would completely understand your choosing to go in that direction. We certainly appreciate the land bank's interest in trying to find ways that it and the year-round housing entities can work together. Hopefully this is the first of many potential collaborations to come. We're looking forward to working together on 31 Fairgrounds in that regard. Just let us know what makes the most sense to you all. Again, no worries if you want to take the bird in hand.
Brooke?
So I think that accurately reflects where I'm going, but I think in listening to everyone else's comments, I do think it doesn't make any sense for us to invest further effort in figuring this out. So I would say that we would request that they make a decision by, you know, such and such a time, at which point we would renew our efforts to find a home for the building, because if we do a fall move, it gives us the option to do it somewhere other than Amelia Drive too. So so it's not, you know, square peg round hole. So I would just say, you know, how we say we would need to know whether you want us to move forward or not before we do so, and that's going to blow the May 1st timeline anyway if there's a decision making, you know, so it's sort of inevitable, I think, to some degree. I mean, the alternative is we just say, we've figured out we can't meet your timeline. Let us know if anything changes and the building becomes available at a later date. Thank you, you know, with a lot of the appreciation, which is genuine for the offer and the offer of funding for the move.
My impression is that's the statement to make. And it allows somebody else to step in. We can't meet the timeline. If it's still available in the fall, call us. Like, then we can stop spending. We can work on an RFP for this site, and somebody else can step into the shoes and move forward and try and hit that HDC. Yes, Penny?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're not the ones with any leverage here. We've been offered an opportunity. I mean, it's not up to us to dictate the process. Really, it just sounds to me like the majority of our board feels that there are a lot of unknown variables, and that the majority of our board is not comfortable with the inherent risk in moving this along by the dates required. So anyway, that's it. I'm done talking about this.
Thank you, Penny. So I'm going to look to Christy and then hopefully a motion, but not necessarily from Christy.
Thank you. I think just on Penny's point, what's making me hesitant is I don't want to be in a position to commit to the land bank and then find out in May it's not going to work, or, you know, come to the June date and it's not able to be moved for any reason. And then the land bank, I just think it would strain the relationship. The land bank had to wait till after summer. So I guess I'm more so looking at the land bank's hand of, I don't want to put them in that position that we can't follow through. And so many things happen in government that gets things delayed. I mean, HDC is a perfect example. And I don't want to put us in a position to hurt that relationship with the land bank. So that's why I feel like saying no now and let's see what we can do in the future is the better approach.
You want to craft that into a motion, Christy?
Sure. I'll make the motion to adopt what Tucker read as the letter, stating that we don't feel confident that we'll be able to meet the June 15th deadline. If that can be added in there. And for those reasons, we would like to see if another buyer or builder is interested in the house. And if it doesn't work out, we're willing to come back to the table.
With a fall deadline as a friendly addition.
Does that make
Is there
sense, Tucker?
Can I just suggest that it's trying to write by committee is a next to impossible task. Like, can you just like approve for, let's say, Christy and I to craft the final language type of thing? Can that be part of the motion?
I'm happy for that.
Okay, so Penny, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that, but I think it should be distributed to us before it goes out, if it's coming from us. So we know what I don't want to vote on something. I mean, we're declining this opportunity at this point because of the time constraints and the unknowns, right?
I mean, I can read it again. What we've said is that we really appreciate the offer. We're not in a position to be able to guarantee meeting the June 15th date. So if that is an important date to you all, and in particular, you're representing, you have someone else who can move it by that date. We do not want to stand in the way of that. But if you wanted to work together toward a fall move, like that's something we would feel more comfortable with. But we totally respect if you want to move forward in this other direction. And we look forward to working with you. We appreciate this effort and we look forward to working with you on other efforts. That's basically the message there.
Dave?
I mean, I think that is the important part of this message. They understand that part of us declining this is out of respect for them, and that we really, really would like to do business with them.
So we have a motion proposed by Christie. Is there any continued discussion on that, or a second, or any altercation to, or alter of that to? Go ahead, Dave.
I'll second it with the understanding that, as Penny said, we'll get a copy of it before it goes out, of the letter. Is that why is
Okay,
that?
so seconded by Dave that the letter is then circulated before it is distributed.
I'm sorry, but this motion doesn't really translate at all. So
great, Eleanor, clean it up for us. We're struggling here. We need you.
I'm going to go back, and I've just written all over the place, check tape at. But I'm concerned that Tucker's suggesting that is the motion amended to stipulate that he and Christie will craft the final language based upon the draft letter that he wrote? That's the amendment to the motion, correct?
Can I make a suggestion?
I have a suggestion too, if you don't.
Can I just circulate the letter? People send back any comments they have. I will incorporate them and circulate again for sort of final okay, and then it goes.
I think that's fine. I'd like to clean the whole thing up, and just in my recommendation, if Christie would be to that the motion be that we vote to decline the generous offer of the land bank to move the building by June 15th at this time, and for Tucker and Christie to draft a letter showing our appreciation and look forward to future collaborative effort.
Happy to amend my motion to that.
Thank you. Would there be a second on that amended motion?
Second.
By roll call, Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
Dave Iverson.
Aye.
Penny Dye,
No.
Christy Ferrantella,
Aye.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye. Great, thank you guys on that one. That took a while to get somewhere. Tucker, do you have your marching orders on that?
I'm going to send the letter that I wrote. Give me your comments. I'm going to revise it and I'm going to send it.
Thank you. Moving to item number 9, we have a financial discussion. Do you want to carry this, or are we carrying the item, or do we want to take this up?
Just one moment. I want to send this note off to you all right now, so you have it. There you go. Yes, so the financial discussion, I mean, I think this really ties back into what Brooke was bringing up earlier. I think, as everyone may be aware, the select board has now adopted the warrant for the 2021 annual town meeting on June 5th, and as well as the ballot measures. And they did include the $475,000 operating funding article, as well as the 7.5 million debt exclusion. And I think, I mean, and Christy can definitely give us greater guidance here, but I think that it's the select board's intention to have a discussion at their March 17th meeting about all of the different housing funding articles. And again, Christy, correct me if I'm not understanding correctly, but I think there's a desire to, at least on the part of some of the board members, to ultimately get behind like a particular approach, if I heard that correctly. So that is relevant to what Brooke was mentioning before in terms of the timing of the housing articles going before the finance committee. And as she said, that's presently scheduled for March 8th. Again, we meet on the 9th and the 16th. The select board discussion, I believe, is going to be on the 17th. It does bring up whether we might want to ask the finance committee whether there's any flexibility in the timing of their discussion of the housing articles, and whether that might happen after the March 17th select board meeting. It would seem perhaps to make some sense, as this body and the select board would have had a chance to have a thorough discussion of the various options. I'll just put that out there.
Open that up for anybody's kind of thought, question, comment. Christy, when you are with the board, thank you for the presentation last night on our behalf and some of those discussions. Is there a way that we can be more helpful to you in the planning of this conversation leading up to that 17th meeting or prior to?
I think if the board has a presentation to put together, that would help kind of the pros and cons of each of the sources. Something I tried to make very clear, as did Brooke last night, was kind of what's short-term funding versus long-term funding, so that the voters kind of understand that they will most likely be choosing 2 out of the 3 options or more. So just making it clear that it's not kind of like 1 out of all of these, but that we really need to focus on the short-term and long-term funding.
Thank you. I think part of that, Brooke, is going to come out of the communications next item that we're going to talk about. Do we just kind of leave this here and jump to that agenda item? Does that make sense? Okay. So let's just open up item 10, communication subcommittee update. And Brooke, I saw you raise your hand, but I think I'm going to come to Rima after you to make the presentation. So Brooke.
No, I just wanted to remark that I do believe there's a need for some leadership from this board in terms of what we recommend to the voters, what this board recommends to the voters for a comprehensive funding plan for the work that we have lined up and envisioned for the future, so that the select board and the finance committee have guidance from us as to what our needs are, given the options that have been laid out on the warrant. So that's all.
Rima, can I come to you to make the communications report or update? Great.
Yeah. So Brooke had sort of sketched out how each article worked, and Allie put together a really good chart talking, that sort of lays out the components of each article. So as far as education wise, we were thinking that we would do, what we've done in the past is put out an informational printed piece at town meeting or prior that to help educate the voters as to what everything is without necessarily making a recommendation. But I think Brooke, maybe it sounds like you're feeling like we should actually hone in on which are the more ideal, which makes the most sense. But that chart is a good start. What we wanted to talk about is public outreach. And we were seeing that in two forms: the education component, having people understand what they would be voting on and what our needs are. And then the other part would be more telling the story of the need through a series of short video interviews with people. And so we would like to put together, it's not an RFP. What's our, because it's the lower level than
Scope of work.
Scope of work. We'd like to put together scope of work to put out to 3 vendors to see if they're willing to do either, depending on the price, from 3 to 5 short videos that we can put out on social media, of people telling their housing story. And we thought that we would, if we had 5 of them, 3 of them would focus on shy list potential programs. We'd like to tie in the interviews with programs, either things that are coming up that would actually solve that individual's issue, and also 2 for home ownership. One would be somebody, who wants to get into home ownership but has been having problems. We could talk about our programs, upcoming for that. And then a success story. And we do have someone that has, as Brooke says, used the ladder of what's available in affordable housing. They were in Sachem's, and with our closing cost assistance program, they've sold to their son, and now they are buying a covenant home. So that would be a success story. Anyway, so what we'd like is authorization to put together a scope of work to put out to 3 vendors for these videos. And at a later date, because we need more time to get that done, have it together for April so we could start the push prior to town meeting in June. And then I think at a future meeting, we'll come back with a scope of work for graphic designer to put together our informational brochure, which also maybe we could have charts and things that would also work on social media. Did I do that, Brooke? Okay, so that's what we're needing. We're just authorization to put together a scope of work.
Okay, great. Thank you for kind of putting the time in, and it just, does anybody want to make a motion on that, or discussion on kind of what it is? I don't want to manage.
One other thing is that we need the scope of work because we anticipate that the production of the videos would be in excess of $10,000.
Okay. Penny?
I just have a question. I'm wondering if, excuse me, our community television station would be able to do any kind of, are they one of the 3 you'd go out to? Any kind of a local affordability discount?
I think most people, can, because the town, it's not a nonprofit, but functions the same way as a nonprofit as far as in-kind donations and discounts and stuff, are willing to give us the nonprofit price.
Just a thought. Thank you.
Oh, we need a motion? Is that what?
I think we need a motion, Dave. Yeah.
Your motion.
Make a motion to approve the communication committee to put together a scope of work for I don't know, what are we calling it, for
Town
education,
meeting funding.
educational information for town meeting,
Educational outreach materials.
educational outreach materials.
Is there a second from
second.
from Penny by roll call? Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Dave Iverson,
Aye.
Penny Dye,
Aye.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan. Aye.
I would just, can I just make one quick point? I think, as Brooke said, I think it's important that without us actually saying what we need, how is the community going to know what to pick? So I think it's very important that we take a stance and we get it out there. This is, in a perfect world, this is what we need.
Allison.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, just from last night's select board meeting and then last week's epic select board meeting, I kind of took from some of the select board members that they would like for us to provide some of that education, for them, for the public, for everyone. I think a few of them were looking for us to really provide that. So
I do think it's important that we try and put some of it, to your point, together sooner than later in slides and distribution kind of information to the other boards as quickly as we can, not just come May for town meeting. Yes, Allison?
and just so, as Reba mentioned, I put together, based off of a lot of Brooke's work, these slides. And the reason that I did a lot of it this way was because, as the newbie to this board, and as someone who leaves these meetings and goes back and explains kind of what we're doing to people who are very not knowledgeable with even just working in a town committee, I've been able to translate what we've been doing into something that, at least I think, that kind of registers a little bit quicker with the public, just people who aren't in the know and in our meetings. So the reason that I intended to break it down this way was so you could look at each bill or each warrant article specifically with the pros and cons. Oh, there go my dogs again. But anyhow, I think you all know what I was trying to do.
Great, thank you. All right, so Brooke.
And I'd also like, and I think this can be taken up at a future meeting, is a proactive community outreach, like us going out and talking to people in different venues through late April, May, leading up to town meeting, that we have what we're doing is crafting the story. And then we have to all engage in telling the story and encouraging people to come to town meeting to support funding the work that we have planned in a sustainable way, is the way I would describe the throughput of this messaging. It's articulating the need, both with data and stories, then telling our plans, attaching dollar amounts to those plans, and then explaining the different methods for paying for those plans. And so the why, the what, and the how.
Go ahead, Tucker.
Yeah, as we're talking about this, I'm going to recirculate. I thought to recirculate the memo that John Giorgio prepared for us all, where he said, as far as the trust taking positions on town meeting warrant articles, that is completely within bounds, but we really cannot be advocating, if you will, on behalf of ballot measures. So we really need to be avoiding, other than just simply mentioning that there are different ballot measures, that we cannot be advocating for those.
Thank you for the refresher and recirculating that. Penny?
Which means that when we're educating people, we have to withhold opinions on other things that they might ask us about that are on the warrant.
Okay, so we're through the communications subcommittee update. Other business, we have next meetings. I think we touched base on the special March 9th meeting previously, but it feels like it begs with the FinCom meeting on March 8th. We likely, if there are multiple members of this board that would like to attend the FinCom meeting, we should probably be posting for that, Eleanor,
Okay.
so that
What
we can
time?
attend. And then the question is this body or group prepared to meet prior to March 8th to have discussion about the various warrant articles to then provide positions of this board or body to FinCom?
What time is that FinCom meeting?
4 p.m. I'm getting a hand signal from Book. Yeah, 4 p.m.
I've got a planning board meeting same time.
You will be missed. Thank you for endeavoring there.
Do I have a choice?
I'll pull up a calendar and throw some suggestions. Brooke, do you have a suggestion?
We had a meeting on the 2nd that we pushed because of the HPP consultant schedules that we could put back on as an additional meeting in March, regular time, perhaps.
And that would be specifically to cover the 3 funding warrant articles. Is it 3 or 4? 3 plus.
There are on the warrant, there are the CPC $800,000 recommended funding, the 475, the 7.5 debt exclusion, the land bank article, and Arthur Reed's article.
And I would imagine that we would also, as part of that discussion, talk about how the potential of the housing bank bill fits into the funding landscape, even though it's not on the warrant this year.
Just so you know, I will be gone next week and cannot post. So Tucker, you're going to have to work with someone to post for that meeting because it'll have to be posted no later than Friday if we meet on Tuesday the 2nd.
Maureen and I will try to make you proud.
And just with respect to the CPC article, I don't think you'll be asked any questions on that because that article is reviewed by the Finance Committee with the CPC because you can't make any adjustments to the article other than on the floor in fact, and the only adjustment you can make is to reduce the size of the award.
So other than, actually, Dave can't make the FinCom meeting, but can March 2nd at a regular time, being 1 PM, work for members of the group? Christy?
Would the March 9th meeting be combined with the 16th, or would it be too long of an agenda?
I think the 9th is the 9th, the HPP group presenting.
Okay.
So that, so the question is, could the 16th come into that meeting?
Yeah, if you'd like to do a long meeting on the 9th, that's not a problem.
I'd prefer that, but interested in hearing what others think.
I'd be prepared to go for it if, God forbid we had a carryover item, then we had to, but I'm up for going for it.
Do that, yeah.
Okay,
I
so
think, especially since this meeting on the 2nd is going to take out a big part of what we might have done on the 16th.
okay, so we could make those adjustments, post those meetings. Any more in other business? Go ahead, Tucker.
So just so you're going to try to meet on the 2nd, right?
Correct.
So, and Eleanor, you're away, right?
Correct. I'm gone next week. I will be back the week of the 1st, but not in time to post.
Oh, okay, but you would be, I may not be able to attend the March 2nd meeting. You would be able to attend that?
Yes.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be able to present, obviously. Who's going to present?
It's a discussion.
Okay.
We can work through that. Penny?
Yeah, Sully, just for my edification, the purpose of the meeting on the 2nd is to vote on the funding articles? A position?
It would be to provide a position of this board to both the Board of Selectmen for their meeting on the 17th and the FinCom meeting on the 8th.
Right.
Of
Okay.
the various funding articles at town meeting.
Thank you.
So we need to post the 2nd, and then we'll post the 8th to be able to attend in mass the FinCom, and then we will keep the 9th. So we have 3 meetings ahead of us in the course of
And the
that
16th
week.
on, 16th.
And the
is-
16th, we will make the effort to eliminate at this point and merge the agenda into the 9th. Any more there? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. I think we only have Anne from the public on now. Anne, do you have any comment for us? Seeing none.
No, thank you though.
Okay. Any board comments? Seeing none, look for a motion for item 16. Go ahead, Brooke.
Hold on just a sec. My goodness.
Put it in huge font for you.
I know. I got about 16 emails since you sent that. I move that we go into executive session, not to return to executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, where an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, and not return to open session.
Is there a second?
Second.
But that was by Allison, and by roll call, Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Dave Iverson.
Aye.
Penny Dye,
Aye.
Christy Ferrantella,
Aye.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Allison Mitchell,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan's an aye.
Do we
Okay,
have 3 minutes before we go to executive?
yes, definitely.